in two significant areas. One is in agriculture, which is the highest employer, biggest employer anywhere. It's also one of the least productive of sectors that we have anywhere. And that productivity gap in agriculture, if we can narrow it even by a small percentage, you will move the needle by a significant amount. And AI can do that. Just think about much of agricultural output in the global south comes from smallholder farmers who lose 40 to 50% of their crop because of pests. Now, if a farmer can identify what the pest is and use a homemade remedy that is given to them in their own language, and using local ingredients, if I can move that 40% down to 30% or 20%, suddenly a huge swing in the farmer's income. So there is no question from a human perspective, if my income is going to, if my crop loss is going to go up by 10 or 20%, I will adopt it. So that's the first thing, which is purpose. Now, in addition to agriculture, small businesses. I don't really need a whole bunch of employees if I can essentially harness AI to do market research, to do analysis, and almost be an employee, and I can be a one-person shop and employ and really build a business. Now, beyond that, there are several other areas of application, which we've done the analysis to kind of see where some of the biggest opportunities are. So agriculture, small business. After that comes education and skill building. Another very powerful use of AI. And a fourth area is healthcare. Now, for each of these areas, there is an element of a major chasm that the humans need to cross. And that chasm doesn't have to do with technology. It doesn't have to do with how big the pipe is. It doesn't have to do with whether I have access to any of the various elements of the digital public infrastructure. In fact, India is one of the shining examples of the distribution system, the rails having been laid. But the key chasm, the big jump that we need to make is across a trust gap, which is in addition to digital infrastructure, in addition to other forms of infrastructure that includes talent and data and compute, there is a trust infrastructure that needs to be built. Because from a human's perspective, I will use a piece of technology if I can trust it. Now, there are many reasons why people are, on the one hand, very excited about AI, as is very evident over here, and at the same time, there is a lingering concern. There's a lingering concern because I don't quite understand what's inside that black box. I don't quite understand how the hiring algorithms work. Why did I get rejected from this job? Why did I get that diagnosis from a healthcare system? What is the language system telling me? Is something being lost in translation? Can I trust an image that has just been sent to me on social media? So the issues of trust are a very important set of questions. And then the data that I'm submitting into the system, simply by interacting with AI, I'm submitting data and providing input. I'm actually acting as labor for the AI industry. What's happening to the data? Who's using it? Where does it go? Can it be used against me? Is it going to be used in my favor? So the whole question of trust is going to be an enormously important part that we need to consider. So first, purpose. Second is creating a trust infrastructure. And the third is recognizing that no matter what we say, no matter what rhetoric we put on our screens, no matter how many alliterative slogans we have in our meetings, AI is going to be a force for inequality. A force for inequality. There are many reasons why AI is going to create an unequal playing field. Not the least of which being the fact that the algorithms are feeding on data. Data is simply a reflection of the past. And as we know, the past is not a terribly equal place. So that algorithm is going to essentially act as a mirror to our past, and maybe part of the risk is that the inequalities of the past get reinforced into the future. There are inequalities in terms of who has access to better tools. Now, even with open source and people being able to vibe code themselves, there's an element of democratization, but there could be very different levels of access across a society. So the usage context itself could be unequal. There could be inequalities when you go into different parts of the world, when you go to different parts of the country. So geographically, there is likely to be inequality. There's inequality in terms of who's providing you AI. So today, much of the frontier AI models are coming from two places, United States and China. And much of China's AI infrastructure is built on top of a foundation from the United States. Much of that foundation of the United States, the leaders of the companies that are producing it, they're all over here, really small. It's a tiny industry that's providing us the foundation from which we're building the rest of the system. And then one last really major source of potential inequality has to do with the resources that AI is absorbing. Primarily energy, water, space, and even kind of our environmental resources. Enormously important. Now, none of this means that we should stop the train, but we need to understand the human impact that AI is going to have, both positive and negative, as we move forward and put the relevant policy systems in place, the relevant trust-building systems in place. Otherwise, we might be not only wasting a demographic dividend that India has got, but a trust dividend that India has got. One critical and really important aspect of an ecosystem like India is that it's a very trusting society, very trusting in terms of digital infrastructure. Trust levels in India is in the 70% range, whereas in the United States is in the 25 to 30% range. That's a huge platform to build on. And it's going to be really important for us to follow through with that trust that users, our potential consumers, are giving us, and for the policy and the technology sector to be able to make sure that that trust dividend is not wasted. So with that, I'm going to sit down, and I look forward to learning from my colleagues on the panel about how do we make AI more purposeful and not just powerful. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor, for the insightful remarks. Very exciting, and at the same time, you raised some concerns around inequality. Let me first go to Arunji. As we said, like the demographic dividend that India holds, we will be adding 1 million plus to workforce every year. How do we make sure that they're skilled, they're ready for what the market is asking, the skills are continuously shifting? As CEO of NSDC with the mandate of skilling the population, how do you look at this? How is, do you see AI as a threat, as an enabler? How are you approaching this?
So good morning. AI is an opportunity and an enabler. So let me begin with a few words about NSDC itself. So this is a national platform institution under the Ministry of Skill Development, and we work through two arms, 36 sector skill councils and close to around 400 training partners. So these are the two arms through which we have been working in the skilling space for the last 2 decades. With AI coming in, of course, it's an opportunity, as I say, but primarily in 4 areas we have started work. One is, of course, AI and how career trajectories are getting shaped, so we require some kind of guidance, direction, etc. So work on that front. Second is creating skilling programs for AI skilling programs. Third is how does AI itself affect the entire value chain of skilling when it comes to, say, training, assessments, counseling, and the other areas. And the last is, since we do large-scale program management, how do you use AI to evaluate or monitor outcomes? These are the 4 primary areas we are working on. Obviously, I'll just speak about each of these areas in brief. The first one, setting the agenda or setting the direction with respect to careers. NSDC and the Sector Skill Council, specifically the IT Sector Skill Council, we have brought about certain reports, how jobs get shaped by AI, the new jobs, and how the existing jobs get changed, etc. The second big area within that is, of course, career counseling. Once you know that this is the way a certain job would get transformed or a new job would come, obviously a lot of career counseling is required for students. So how do we create AI-enabled career counseling tools, models, etc.? So that's one area of big work. Coming to skilling, AI skilling programs, clearly there are three triads. The first is, of course, where we talk about how do we AI for all, skilling, which is more like AI awareness and AI usage. So we have this skilling for SOAR program, under which we work with schools, etc. The second is where we talk about how does skilling affect practitioners or people in the workplace, and this is where our sector skill councils are busy putting together how do we make the current programs, how do you bring in AI modules in it, of course, to begin with how AI affects job roles, to start with, and then translating that into how the new programs would look like. The third area is AI for engineers, where we skill engineers, and this is where we work with engineering colleges. We have something called the Future Skills Centers, and we work with close to, right now, around 10,000 students enrolled on it. The idea is to create close to around 22 companies work with us, including Microsoft, Google, and Amazon, and Schneider's, and Siemens, etc. And we create these kind of skilling centers within engineering colleges. The good thing about it is that this is part of the credit-based system. So students can pick up, over the 4 years they are doing the engineering every year, every semester they pick up a course, and you string together a course, then you have a kind of a program for, say, an AI architect or something like that. So we look at the entire skilling program. The third is, as I said, AI is changing the way we skill, the way we train, the way we assess. Early days, again, pilots on, how do you use AI as a training assistant, to our trainers, So what do we do? How do we work with that? Similarly, assessment is in a big area. Please see, many of our training involves vocational training, which means hands-on training. So the use of AI for hands-on training requires a lot of piloting, etc. So towards that we're working. Can we say, for example, just giving an example, say, what's a good weld or what's a bad weld? If the AI is trained on that, then it can help the current assessor in actually, actually providing a better assessment, and also augmenting the number of assessors we are currently having. The last piece is we have our skill platform for large-scale program management. Today it is called SID, and we are now bringing elements AI into it, so that how do we monitor outcomes better. So big challenges in a country like India is monitoring outcomes. Therefore, seeing how to use AI on that area also. So these are the areas of work which we have started. Thank you.
Very interesting and exciting to see what you have brought to the table. Neena ji, if I can move to you. Arunji spoke about the skilling programs, but certification standards are very key. And how do you do that in an environment where skills are, the courses are becoming outdated in months, the requirements are shifting. From your vantage point, like a lot of content being created, a lot of initiatives all around. How do we define qualified professional in AI? Like how should, is there a plan for certification or standard setting? How should we think about it?
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me. I'm a former executive member of NCVT. 1 minute about NCVT. NCVT is a regulatory body. NCVT is a regulatory body under Ministry of Skill Development. So something on AI, since we're sitting in an AI conference. Around 2.5 years back, we came up with a skilling framework for AI. And the framework actually talks about 3 layers of skilling for AI. It talks about skilling for all. It talks skilling for few and skilling for many and skilling for few. Skilling for all is an initiative we started working as part of the SOAR initiative that was mentioned by Arun also. Now, what does that mean? Like, all of us know how to use payment gateways or payment, UPI, etc. Can we actually use AI in a similar way? So our thought was, can we take AI to everyone, every nukkad corner, a rediwala or a plumber or somebody who's a beautician, etc. So what did we do on that? And I'm going to take a minute before I come to your certification question. We actually have tried creating a small nano credential for something which a beautician can use, and how can she use AI for giving a better service to the customers. We've actually created a virtual try-on for a tailor. How can a tailor use a virtual try-on concept for actually taking it to, telling a person which design or what kind of a color suits a person. We've actually created basic courses, of course, on AI, which also have been done, and they were launched sometimes in July. We've got around 2 lakhs plus people who registered on those courses. But idea was, how can we take it to everyone? So how can simple things like, how can a plumber find out if there's a fault in the pipe? So can AI be used there? So one of the points which I think Professor talked about was, how do we take it to masses? How can AI make an impact in our lives or everybody's life, like internet is doing or anybody else is doing? So that's what we've tried doing as part of some of the courses that we already are in a state to launch. And in fact, some of the courses have been launched. We all been talking about in this conference that AI is going to replace coders. So there's going to be lots of jobs, etc. But still, how can actually you use AI for helping to learn coding? We actually in our stall upstairs, we've actually demonstrated how AI can help in coding also. How can it help me to learn coding? How can it help me to test a particular program? So AI doesn't stop at just being AI and taking away jobs. I think we have to groom and possibly diffuse, the word which has been said, the concept of AI which is happening. Now let's look at certification in the courses. Very wonderful question he asked. Things are changing almost every day. I think the carpenter's role is going to change. In fact, we have from Furniture and Putting Sector Skill Council a small little module which says, how can I design a particular furniture better if I have AI? Knowing the wood, amount of wood, and the space for which I have to design the furniture, can a carpenter actually use AI to design the furniture better? Right? That's the way it's going to make an impact. Now, how can I embed this course in a course which I'm teaching a carpenter? That's the impact it's going to make, and that's what we're trying to do. So, a wonderful question from that point of view. So, what we've done is, we came up with the concept of stackable micro-credentials or stackable nano-credentials, which means based on the changes which are happening, you could actually stack the small modules together and make a skill that is required, that needs to be done. And in these skills, you could also have something like employability skill, which could be design thinking or others, and it could also be an AI module which can be embedded, which actually tells you how AI can be embedded in a particular course. For example, our ITIs already have a small 7.5 hours module which have been embedded as basic concepts of AI, which are now being taught to every ITI students. Now, what we want to see is how can we actually do our lathe machines or other machines, how can they be done in a better way with AI? So that's how we are trying to do it. Now, certification is now the way we are trying to do is small certificates, which a person earns can actually lead to credits. And the total of that actually can also take you to a larger credit. And that's how it's been planned as part of something called National Credit Framework that we actually came up with from NCVT and Ministry of Education. This was launched around 2 years back. So that's how it's being planned. I hope that answers.
To Rakesh, historically, whenever general purpose, huge technological change comes in, it ends up increasing divide for some time till people evolve when you learn new skills and get off the curve. Now, in India's vantage point, we spoke about the starting point we have. In your view, what needs to be done differently? We heard a few initiatives in motion to make sure that we cross this transition and manage this transition very carefully and aptly.
Thank you so much. It is a very, very pertinent question. And I truly believe that in the past era, India was at a disadvantage. It was very difficult when we had internet coming in. India was not as uniquely placed as it is placed today. We have ubiquitous connectivity. We have low cost of connectivity. We have a huge amount of internet penetration. We have applications which are general purpose applications used by 1 billion people like UPI and others. So today our starting point is very, very different, not only for our users, but also for those who are making these applications. I think journey started about 10 years back when India realized that we have to make applications for our own people and not just rely on the world to make applications for us and take them forward. So that's where we are today. Hence the opportunity for us is immense, given that we are 1 billion people with access to low cost connectivity, reliable connectivity, already using these applications for our financial transactions and other use cases. and especially for all the programs that we just heard NSDC and others are today making. So I'll just talk about three things that I thought I'll bring to your notice is, I think the point that we should move from digital literacy to work literacy. What that typically, the point that I'm wanting to make here is that, just a minute, my phone is misbehaving. So, so the idea here is how can we remove friction to learning? And friction to learning, typically the point that I wanted to make is how can it be anytime, anywhere, any media, any duration? And more we are seeing that our population, our people are used to 1 minute, 2 minute consumable content. Giving a 1 hour lecture or 1 hour content may be difficult now. People really need to consume it in 2 minutes. If they like, they might go ahead with the 2 hour content. So are we creating the right content for our users, or are we just trying to reshape the content we have? A lecture somewhere and we give a video on a platform and say consume it. So this whole content strategy has to work if the skill is to be really imparted for people in a consumable manner where the, as I said, friction to usage is least. And obviously if we dovetail the programs that Sir was just talking about into those 600 labs that Digital AI Mission is going to set up across India, then somebody who's interested and you hook on by this small, meaningful content on an Instagram, can the person really find it interesting and get to somewhere where they can really see the benefit of it? And we heard Nandan talking about it, is that we should lead from the first principles. It is not only giving black boxes to people and saying work with it. If you really want India to progress, people should understand also, a lot of people should understand what goes into this black box so that they can start innovating around it. So I think that's one, which is remove friction. The second is, I think we are all talking about agents and we are talking about physical AI. It is not going to be easy for any worker, including, trust me, for me, if tomorrow I'm told that my secretary is an agent and not a physical person, although the productivity of that agent may be much better. Now imagine we are getting into a workforce where we are talking of lights out factories. It's a reality in China, where the factories are totally autonomous. How do you get your workforce to work with this physical AI? You are working and besides you there is a robotic arm working, doing half the work. How do you work in such environments where a lot of work is being done by physical AI? It will take a lot of mindset shift. It will take a lot of role shifts. And it is not only telling them what AI is, how their roles are changing, what is now expected of them. Once that is clear, then only you will be able to train them better. So therefore, how do we move towards this journey? And in our mind, be very optimistic of the fact that it is here and it will impact us. We have to be ready. There is enough and more for a country like ours to become the torchbearers for the world of how to engage 1 billion people on this endeavor. We will create data, which will train apps, but for that we'll have to take on the mantle of creating our own apps, which are purposefully made for India, made in our languages, made for our specific use. Thank you.
Thank you, Rakesh. I'm being told that we are running out of time, so let me move to Ms. Lobo. Google has done some very exciting partnerships recently. Like we keep hearing about the Google AI Professional Certificate that you have launched. You have partnered with MSDE. You launched an AI-enabled campus in Meerut. How do you see this, adding to the trust factor that professors talked about in the beginning? Like, and how are these initiatives going to add to the broader AI ecosystem that we need?
So when I look at the work that we've been doing across board and across product areas, and speaking to some of the announcements we've made this week, it's what we're looking at is how do we bring the full stack of AI into India, right from the foundational level, is creating a secure, resilient infrastructure. How do we bring that computational power that India needs in India, and not having to rely on that power, that compute in other markets? And that's why we started out with the build of the data center, the AI data center in Vizag. Adding to that is how do we then ensure connectivity with the rest of the world? That's where we've looked at the subsea cable investments that we're going to do, which is going to connect Vizag to the US directly, circumventing through the southern hemisphere. And then as you go up the stack, like you're talking about, is how do we build out applications and solutions that are actually delivering value to the last mile citizen on the ground, whether it's in agriculture, health. But every time we look at it, we are looking at how do we kind of complete the circle. So if you look at it in the education space and the work we've been doing with Charan Singh University, is how do you have AI not just at the skilling level, but how do you bring in AI at the learning level and the administration level? So we can create a more effective and efficient way of actually delivering AI to the students. And we're addressing every part of that chain of learning. How then do you connect it to the workforce, correct? So as you look at the professional certification. And it's important that these loops start to close, because that's when you actually see impact at scale. Similarly, as we talked about in agriculture, healthcare, correct? How in agriculture you go from seed to market. How do you give information to a farmer to understand the weather patterns so he's better able to know when to sow, when to harvest, information on the market, information on financial support. So the whole aspect that we are thinking through is how do we kind of help connect the dots? How do we come in and provide and support in our technology to ISVs to create these solutions to connect the dots? Because that last mile connectivity is actually going to determine the success of this technology.
Thank you. I think we're quite at time, but I want to take just a minute for a last question to all the panelists together. If you had to identify one decisive action which India should take, looking at 2030, something that we can be proud of, what action should India take to make AI as an equalizer? Let me start with you, Professor. Just 5-second responses, rapid fire.
5-second response. I think the one action that we need to take is improve the trust infrastructure and make sure that the human at the other side of the AI understands what's inside the black box, at least to the extent that it makes them feel comfortable accepting the output and the decision that the black box is offering.
I think in the next 3 years, I think every Indian should have access to an assistant, an AI assistant, whether he's a farmer, a student, or anything. We have the platforms, we have the DPIs in place, we have Bhashini, the language thing in place. We also have the SIDS, the skills platform in place. It's time we put it all together and create every Indian having one assistant working with him.
I think what I would love is that if ethics and value is also part of every AI course that's taught, at least in India, we will possibly create a different kind of AI creators in that case. That will be my wish.
Exciting.
Thank you. I would believe that it is access to affordable compute which will be important for India to succeed.
I think I'm going back to my first point is on the flywheel. I think a lot of the investments are coming into the compute side. How do we look at bringing in investments and creating economic models for the diffusion of AI? And that's going to be important.
Trust, ethics, compute, human at the core of everything. Thank you so much for the exciting discussion. Back to you, Sarika.
Thank you. Can have a round of applause for the panelists and our moderator, please. Thank you to our esteemed moderator and distinguished panelists for their valuable insights. Ladies and gentlemen, at the AI Impact Summit, conversations are important, but actions are even more important. And in this context, industry-led initiatives play a crucial role in translating vision into action by making AI learning accessible, practical, and relevant for students, professionals, and enterprise alike. I would now like to invite Mr. Sunil Kumar, Lead Engineer, Google, to take the stage and present the demonstration on scaling creative with GCP Gen Media, showcasing how AI skilling initiatives are empowering individuals. Sunilji, please. Please give him a round of applause.
Thank you, everyone. So I have to do a small setup before we get started. So Meanwhile, I will introduce myself. My name is Sunil Kumar Jang Bahadur. I am working as a AI Gen AI specialist, focusing on a lot of Gen Media stack in GCP. So, okay. So, obviously, I won't start with the slide. I wanted to start with the video. That's the reason you are seeing that video. But before playing that, we have basically reached, like in the AI journey, AI baked it into the application to AI accessible to everyone. I will call it Ghar Ghar Gen AI. So now everyone has access to Gen AI in their mobile or their laptop, right? Now with creator economy booming, I think now it's fair to say this year will be like Ghar Ghar Gen Media, because हर गली हर घर की एक कहानी होती है और सबको बतानी होती है. So and in India scale, right, all the stories are, and India as well as story are basically baked in. Whether we are passing knowledge from generation to generation, tradition to tradition, right? Even the culture that needs to be passed from generation has been told via stories. And every region has their own stories, maybe at traditional level or maybe ancient rulers that has not come out yet. Maybe like some movies are coming up with some regional stories, getting that flavor, right? So now what if this creator element is accessible to everyone to create their story and share it across the world? So as part of it, we have created one trailer completely made of our Gen AI stack with one of the collaboration with the director. And I will play just to show you the art of possibility of Gen AI before going into the nitty-gritties of it.
A land does not ask for a ruler. आज हमारी मिट्टी पर ग्रहण लगा है. It asks for care, so its people may live and dream. But लेकिन जब तक तुम सब मेरे साथ खड़े हो, कोई शक्ति हमारे राष्ट्र को झुका नहीं सकती.
मुझे हर रास्ता आग की ओर जाता हुआ दिख रहा है.
अगर मैं उसमें कदम नहीं रखूंगा तो वो हमारे लोगों तक पहुंच जाएगी.
तो फिर मुझसे एक वादा करो.
कैसा वादा?
वापस आए ना. पत्थर की दीवारें, सांसें भी है भारी.
But peace is never permanent. It must be protected again and again.
شکال اول کیرال تقدیر مملی ها را کن لوام مکدونیا این وون لعدی برکنده کن دیگر.
அச்சமின் ரிசல் உன் மக்கள் காத்திருக்கின்றனர்.
So whole idea behind showing this complete story, which is completely generated by AI, is a few things to highlight. Lip sync is basically baked in the model. Multilingual support, so different languages can be now basically communicated via this model and handled by the model itself. The whole benefit of this is like if you have a creative idea, if someone remote in India just have internet access and have a story to tell, they can use this platform, create their story, and release it to the world to see. So that's the power that it will give to the creators across the India using this platform. And how this is going to basically play. So the workflow that you have seen, this is the kind of workflow that has been followed. Obviously, I have enhanced it using Nano Banana to make it more jazzy. So you just need a content. You can take help from Gemini, which is our multi-model model, or any GenAI model, to convert that into a story. Then AI engine, which will basically take that story, like how the traditional media content needs to be generated. Like you create a wireframe or storyboard of each of the scene, how it will be played out. Then using that image, put it to the VO model to generate that video. Along with the dialogues, it can be any language. So whether you want to build a regional language content, whether you want to generate in English, Hindi, anything, that can be generated via the VO model. Then you can use Lyria model to use any kind of background score generation, integrate all of them together to create an aggregated video of your own. So that's the pipeline even we have followed as part of the earlier video, and similar kind of pipeline can be followed. And this skill can be developed and given and provided as a training to all the creators so that they can leverage this platform. You don't need a bigger like studio kind of setup now to create your own story. Like let's think about like 5 years down the line, or like previous, like if I have to go back 10 years down the line and think, okay, I have a story, I have to produce it, or let's say I have a small ad also, like for SMB organizations, I have a small ad to produce, at least I will take 10 to 20 lakhs to produce an ad. Now I can create quickly those ads within like few bucks, few thousand of rupees or dollars maybe, not more than that. So that's the idea. Like you can bring your own story, your own product, create that content and publish it. So with that particular thing, the core capability of our models are, as you have seen, the synchronized video with audio, character and style consistency, enhanced realism with and audios, and control right from start to end. There are different controls that are provided in the model. But one issue that has been highlighted in this particular case is the security part, both at data end and when you create the content, right? And with the Google, I think responsible AI is baked in our culture. Back in 2017, we have established our own AI principle when the AI was just born, right? So with that into consideration, we have basically taken a huge precautionary measures as part of this model. First thing is from the enterprise perspective at GCP level, if you are using enterprise models, you will get the scalability because the scale is important at the large scale production or deployment perspective. Data governance, like obviously the content that you are creating, the IP you are generating has to be protected. You cannot use any model which will basically uptrain their model on that content. So this basically Vertex AI platform protects your IP and keep it to yourself. So it is basically enclosed within your Google Cloud ecosystem so that your IP is protected and none of your data is basically used for any kind of uptraining of the model. Third part is the safety. Safety is important. How you make sure any explicit contents are not getting generated. How you block those content. So all our models have that baked in that, whether it's Gemini, Imagen, VO, Nano Banana. That's way we are basically making sure whatever we are generating is basically baked in within that guardrail. And the last part is from the creator perspective. When you create a content, how you make sure that you are indemnified. Like someone IP is not basically getting regenerated via that model. So GCP model basically indemnify their customers saying that whatever you are generated, because we are sure that whatever model we are training is basically done by either data that we have already acquired or copyrighted data has not been used. So we can claim on that data, and we are providing indemnification to the creator. So they don't have to worry about that, then they can tell their own story in their own way. Okay. So like from the capability, obviously we support 720p to 4K. So if you are like generating a reel-based content, even you can generate that. If you want a large studio element that needs to be set up, you can generate 4K resolution videos as well. Couple of examples just to show, like you can, so it has become so easy that you can provide the ingredients or reference images and upload it to the model to generate a video, and it will stitch them together to maintain that consistency element. Similar to that. And from the audio control perspective, I'll just show.
Of all the offices in this town, you had to walk into mine.
So I won't basically spend too much time, but that's what I want to convey in this particular element is now we have a platform to tell our own story, and now the creators can leverage this and this kind of pipeline and the complete end-to-end stack, right from the text generation, image generation to video generation as part of this platform, and tell their own stories. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sunil and Google team for such an enlightening demo, which reflects our shared commitment to building an inclusive and future-ready workforce, aligning with India's vision of becoming the global hub for trusted and skilled AI talent. As a key outcome, aligned with the vision of AI Impact Summit, we now move to a very important milestone and a defining moment, the launch of awareness campaign on Skill India Digital Hub, SID. Skill India Digital Hub has emerged as India's unified AI-powered digital platform for lifelong learning, for lifelong skilling, with over 1.5 crore citizens already registered, and accessing skill courses, apprenticeship jobs, and verified credentials in one place. It is my honor to invite Ms. Debashri Mukherjee, Honorable Secretary, Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, to kindly grace the stage and formally launch the awareness campaign. Thank you, ma'am. We call upon every inspiring learner, professional, entrepreneur, and dreamer to join this campaign on SID, also called as Badhna Hai To Yahan Judna Hai. Thank you, ma'am, once again. I would like to invite now Ms. Pooja Khandwal, Capacity Building Head of NEGD, to please give mementos to our panelists.
पूरी शरीर के श्रीनिवास को मशीनों के दिल की धड़कन
Thank you, Ms. Pooja. As we conclude this session at the AI Impact Summit 2026, one message clearly stands out. India is not only participating in the global AI revolution, but is actively shaping it through its strength in talent, trust, and technology. On behalf of Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, I, Sarika Dixit, extend sincere gratitude to our Honorable Secretary Ma'am, distinguished speakers, panelists, moderator, and all the participants present here. We look forward to India's continuing to power the world through responsible human-centric AI. Thank you and wishing you a productive and inspiring summit ahead. Jai Hind.
जिनकी आंखों में सपने होते हैं वो थोड़ा कम सोते हैं। कल कामयाबी चाहिए तो वो आज बीज बोते हैं। सपनों को पूरा करने के लिए सिर्फ हौसला काफी नहीं होता है। एक साथी, एक सहारा मिल जाए जो आपको काबिल बनाए, सक्षम बनाए और करियर में कामयाबी दिलाए तो कैसा रहे? ये सोच है स्किल इंडिया मिशन की और इस राह का नाम है सिद्ध, स्किल इंडिया डिजिटल हब, SIDH, सिद्ध। भारत सरकार के कौशल विकास एवं उद्यमशीलता मंत्रालय के मार्गदर्शन से NSDC द्वारा बनाया गया एक ऐसा प्लेटफॉर्म जिसने करोड़ों लोगों की मेहनत को कामयाबी तक पहुंचाकर उन्हें एक नई ऊंचाई दी। तो आइए मिलते हैं ऐसे ही कुछ योद्धाओं से। छत्तीसगढ़ की बिमली देवी ने ठानी एक नई जिद, अपने कलात्मक कौशल को निखार कर अपने बुटीक में ऑनलाइन ऑर्डर से पैसे कमा रही हैं। पूरी शरीर के श्रीनिवास को मशीनों के दिल की धड़कन सुनाई देती थी। सिद्ध ने कहा, भाई साहब इसको करियर बनाइए और रोबोटिक्स की दुनिया में आइए ना। बिहार की रत्ना में आपको इरादों की चमक दिखेगी। सिद्ध से सोशल मीडिया कोर्स करके आज वीडियो ब्लॉगर बन गई हैं। ये पंख नहीं है मगर आजकल उड़ती दिखाई देती है। मणिपुर की खुनु लीमा की तो उड़ान ही गजब निकली। सिद्ध पे स्किल सेंटर ढूंढा, जापानी भाषा सीखी और पहुंच गई जापान। आज वहां केयर गिवर की नौकरी करते हैं, लाखों में कमाते हैं साहब, पैसे भी और माँ बाप का आशीर्वाद भी। बढ़ना पूरे भारत को है और उसके लिए जुड़ना सिर्फ एक जगह, सिद्ध, स्किल इंडिया डिजिटल हब। सिद्ध ऐप 23 भाषाओं में उपलब्ध है, जहां आपको मिलते हैं हजारों कोर्सेस, उद्यम के अवसर और ई-कॉमर्स की सुविधा भी। अब तक देश के 28 राज्यों से 1.5 करोड़ से भी ज्यादा युवा इससे जुड़ चुके हैं। इंडिया बढ़ना है तो सिद्ध से जुड़ना है।
Nie możesz tak mówić. First handle group photo on.
First,
Group photo.
maybe at the end of the session. Together, public leadership, technology experts to explore how trusted AI can be designed, governed, and implemented across regions. Let me introduce our panelists. Rafał Rosiński, Deputy Minister, Ministry of Digital Affairs, Republic of Poland. Atsuka Okuda, Regional Director for Asia and the Pacific International Telecommunication Union. Changatai Masango, Head of Office, United Nations Secretariat of the Internet Governance Forum. Odys Niokuru, CEO, Digital Umaganda. JJ Singh, President, Indo-Polish Chamber of Commerce. Pramod Bandivad, Head of AI and Software Development, SIFI Technologies. Mariusz Kura, General Manager, APAC, Millennium. And Edyta Gorzoń, Co-Pilot Architect and Microsoft MVP from Millennium. My name is Lidia Stępińska-Ustasiak, and thank you all for being here with us. In the first round of questions, we will focus on strategy and implementation.